Yeah, so we're in the process of big self scout right now in terms of what's been good, what's been bad, shrinking what we're doing. The last few weeks, specifically last week, the short week's a short week, but last week having more time sometimes is a curse, and we probably had too many things in, and I didn't feel like our guys played fast enough. So we got to be able to shrink what we're doing to make sure our guys can play fast and know where their fits are and know how we're blocking things. When you have a billion things in, it's hard. And I think that's part of me. I'm a scheme guy, so I'm involved in both sides. So I have to do a better job of not giving ideas to both sides in which they put in and they put in their own ideas, right? I got to be able to be like, hey, if you put my idea in, take this one out, right? We got to balance it out a little bit. But that's me. I got to do a better job of that and not just throwing ideas out there.
Chris, right here. Chris Cartman, St. Louis Stars. Kenny, wanted to ask about special teams. A couple penalties, obviously, to start, and some other things that we see. You've been involved a lot with special teams. Maybe talk about how.
Yeah, I mean, you can't kick it out of bounds. I mean, up until we really kicked it out of bounds and then the one penalty, kicking out of bounds really can't do much about. We'd hope we not kick it out of bounds in the future. The penalty is just a fundamental thing. When you look back on kickoff return, everybody in America has a signal when you're not returning the kick, right? That signal says stop blocking. Well, we didn't look back at the signal, so we kept blocking, and then bang, bang, collision with the whistle and the hit, but it looks horrible because you're not even returning the kick and the ball bounced in the end zone, so it looks like, and everybody else is stopped because they all see the signal, so you have a whole bunch of people stopped and then one person going full speed to cleat somebody. It just looks like a penalty, and it's all from a not looking back, seeing the signal, and not blocking. So we got to do a better job of that. We got to emphasize making sure everybody looks back at the signal. There was really no malintent there. It was just a lack of a small detail of just looking back and seeing we're not returning it.
Have you been happy with your coverage and return rates?
For the most part, 2 weeks ago versus State, I was not happy with our kickoff cover team. We left way too much space on the edge for them to kick us out. We made a few tweaks, and then last week I was very happy. Our punt team has been good. Way better than it was last year. Our kickoff cover team, other than that Texas State game where we, were too loose on the edge, great correction. That was one of the best punt returner or kickoff return teams statistically in the country, and we pinned them inside the 25 twice. So I thought that was a positive, right? We just got to, keep the ball in bounds so we can go cover.
Jordan in the back.
Hey, Coach Jordan, Sports 360 in your self-scout, what are some of the things that jump out to you that you're really proud about your team, and what are a couple of things that you feel like this team needs to immediately address?
I'm too, we're in it right now, so I don't want to, comment before I'm completely through watching it. I know just throughout the season, what I'm proud of is our guys don't quit, and, even when we made stupid mistakes, which uncharacteristic of us to do some of the things that were done last week, which is it's unacceptable. But the positive was our guys that made those mistakes were able to regather their composure, right, and go finish, right? And I don't know if last year when a guy makes a mistake like that, gets a stupid penalty, right, if they could have stayed on the field, regained balance, because you could take a guy off the field, right, and calm down, calm down, calm down. You can't do that and yell at him and make him known. But at the end of the day, if you've got a competitor, he knows he messed up. If your guy isn't harder on himself for making a mistake that hurts the team, then he shouldn't be on the field to begin with. If that dude if it doesn't eat at him that he just did something catastrophically bad, then what are you doing playing him to begin with, right? The better question is, don't do it again, and can you respond from that situation? So hopefully those guys that had some uncharacteristically kind of stupid penalties don't have them again, and they were learning experiences, because we haven't had those since I've been here. That was really the first week of just stupid crap, and it absolutely was a huge, huge, huge factor in the football game. I mean, huge factor. There's over 100 and something yards of hidden yardage within penalties because of that football game and bad ball.
Hey Kenny, Max Bears, can you just discuss how different the watching film process goes on a bye week compared to the game? Like obviously Kansas is at home this week, goes to TCU. Do you watch kind of your first round of film this week and then see this coming week's film live, or do you do it after the game and such, or do you like watching it?
Yeah, so right now, obviously, we're in self-scout mode where we're focused on us. You know, we got to get better. The best teams get better throughout a season, and our toughest opponents are still ahead of us, right? Everybody knows that. So we got to continue to improve. And then, you know, tomorrow and Thursday or Wednesday, we'll start diving into Kansas and start like, okay, what are the base things that we like versus them? And we'll kind of intro that to give our guys a little bit of an intro. I wouldn't say we're going to focus on them. I'd say we're going to focus on the plays we want to practice, right, that are also good versus Kansas. But we're not going to put in all the schemes and all that stuff and say 2 weeks at Kansas. It's going to be focusing on us with a Kansas small emphasis. And then we'll watch the game Saturday, and then we'll rewatch Kansas again after the game with all the new cut-ups. Because what people forget is teams change throughout a season, especially teams that may not have had the success early in the season as they've wanted to, right? They're going to adapt and change, and you've got to be able to say, okay, they did this in week 2, but they didn't do this in week 4, and they won in week 4. What's the change there, and what are we actually going to see?
Yeah, a quick follow-up to that. Do you think Kansas has proven to be maybe one of those teams, considering they're a ranked top 20 team in the country coming into the season, and it maybe performed not to the expectations many people thought they have? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, the funny thing about Kansas is they've been in close games so far. Like, they could, I mean, you change a few plays, and their season is completely different. The narrative is completely different. But that's football. And the hardest thing about football when it comes to when you lose those tight games, I mean, we lost a one-score game last week, and it sucks, is you're 2 to 3 plays away from them being undefeated and us being undefeated. That's every season, for every team, forever. How do you keep your team motivated and continuing to drive when you don't have that success in those close games? I think that's really the testament of where your program's going, is when you lose those close games. How do you respond?
Devin, back here. Yeah, Coach Devin Emerson, WCSN. When you go out in the first possession, you get behind the sticks, and the quarterback throws a pick. What's the messaging to him when he comes back to the sideline to kind of get him refocused and go back out for the next possession?
Yeah, good read. Just missed the throw. I mean, they're in cover 2. The corner's down. He's got square shoulders. You're throwing the whole shot. Good read. You missed the throw. I will sleep so well at night if we throw interceptions based off bad ball, like a missed throw, with a dude hitting him in the face or in the chest, right? So you make the right read as a freshman on your first drive. You throw the ball, you get hit in the chest, and the ball sails on you a little bit, interception. Like, that's going to happen. That's football. What I can't sleep is when we just throw the ball to the opponent for no apparent reason. And that's not something that Sam's shown to do. Sam doesn't, to this point, he has taken care of the football at a fairly high level and given us a chance to extend drives because he just doesn't throw it to the other team. I mean, for lack of a better way to say that.
Chris? Yeah, Kenny, I think you touched on this in your first answer about maybe perhaps getting too much into game plans, but what have you thought about the run blocking that is kind of better at interior offensive line? How those guys have done?
Yeah, I thought the first 2 weeks, they're really good. I think the Texas State game, short week, and all the movement really kind of flustered us a little bit and made us way too passive in the run game, where we weren't as much thinking about how do I double team and get to the second level and cover up linebackers. We were worried, how do we not give up a TFL with all the pressure? And that carried over this last week, but this team wasn't a pressure team. So we should have way been more find vertical doubles, move people off the ball, get to linebackers, and we were still trapped in this, oh, crap, we just got kind of beat through all this movement in all these games, and we're worried about all that now because we had success when people didn't move. We were moving people, but now we're not blocking how we did when people didn't move all the time. So I think it's just part of it. You know, the unique part about the season so far, and it goes to the O-line play, but it also the quarterback is, you know, week 1 we face a 4-down team, right? Week 2 we place an odd 5s, 3 high safety. Week 3 we face a team that blitzes more than any team I've played in the last 5 to 7 years on base downs with 2 trap. Good scheme, good for them, right? Good stuff. Week 4 we face odd weak side overhang. Those are the 4 core defenses in college football, really football in general. We've happened to see all 4 in 4 weeks. So there is some growing pains there. That's not ideal because those pictures are new, and we can say we can practice all that, but you can't practice all that at a good enough level. When you're facing something new every week, there's no consistency. So I think now that we've seen all those things, when we go into a week, there's going to be a lot to pull back from. Hey, this is like Texas Tech week. Hey, this is like Mississippi State week. We can pull from things now for our guys, whereas before you practice that in the off season, but you can't say, hey, we're going to all only worry about opposing team scheme. You got to get good at some things. So I think we're going to learn from those 4 games as we move forward, and it really is a good blueprint for us as we continue the last 8 games, because we've kind of seen most of what things can do from a hat count perspective.
Back here. Yeah, Coach, later in the first half, you had a 4th and short in your own territory. You guys called a shot play there. What have you seen from this team? I know you did a lot last year. What have you seen from the team this year that gives you the confidence to make that call in that situation?
I believe in our quarterback. Like, it's 4th and 1 on our own territory. Like, I'll put it in his hands. He's a freshman on the road. First Big 12 game. We believe in you. And it's just as much for him to see, whoa, these guys are calling this. Like, the mental side of these guys, like, they believe in me, right? And guess what? We beat him deep, and he threw the exact ball we coached there. You don't overthrow it, you underthrow it. If a guy gets beat deep, you underthrow the ball. Because if you overthrow it, right, it's incomplete, turnover. If you underthrow it, we still have a chance to make a play, but we're guaranteed to get PI. So he did exactly what we talked about, right, in that situation. We'd like to catch the ball, obviously, but we still got a first down, and we put it in his hands. And I think it's just a testament to the trust we have in him.
Right here. Hey, Coach, from a defensive line standpoint, I know obviously the bye came at a good time to get Prince back. Just your overall thoughts of his first game back and just the defensive line, the way they adjusted and played throughout the game.
Yeah, he played well in the game. Like, it was good to have him back. I thought the D-line played pretty solid. I think we had too many games in, too many linemen, and probably too sophisticated. But we made them think too much. I think we have too many movements in, which are really good scheme. But once again, I think one of my good buddies in this profession is Alex Golish, and people probably saw the tweet that was out the other day, and there couldn't be a truer statement of, like, great scheme with bad execution is, or good plays with bad execution is a bad play. And I think that definitely that's in their team meeting or one of their staff rooms. And I think that's such a true statement, is if you can't execute a play regardless of how good it is. So I think we've got to be simpler as a coaching staff to let our guys go and play the game so those guys can play faster and more free. And but I did think they played a pretty good football game.
Front left, Damon.
Hey, Kenny. Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. The way the buys are set up in this schedule, breaking it down into like 3 kind of equal parts of the season, how do you feel like this first chunk went, and how do you want to attack the buys as far as like what you want to get done in each week?
Yeah, I mean, for one, we want to get our bodies back right, and then 2, we want to focus on ourselves. I think those are the 2 things. Can we get our bodies feeling good, but can we fine-tune a detail, and then can we take our base stuff and can we practice it with just a minor tweak, right? Can we do something from a little bit different look, right, that we can prepare for this next chapter of 3 games? You know, Scat said 4-4, it's more 4-3-5, right, because of the bye weeks from that perspective. But we've got to be prepared to kind of have a plan for the next 3 weeks in terms of what we're repping, what we want to be good at in this next 3-game cycle. That's why you have to self-scout, because you got to know what teams are preparing for. That way you can, balance essentially what you've done in the past with counters.
So, Kenny, I know when the season started, you really wanted to have the running back by committee approach, really stay away from what happened in 2023. not having Carlos, not having Malik, aside from the exotic run defenses that you face, especially in the last 2 weeks, I mean, how much does that really hurt the run game?
Yeah, we got to get those guys in more. I mean, bottom line, we got to get more backs going. I mean, the hard part is Scat's so used to just his entire life he's just been handing the ball every time. Like, so he's always fresh, right? So he's always next to you like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. So it's really hard to like be like, all right, well, if you're good, just stand here. Like, right? That's difficult when one of your better players is right there saying, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And you just gotta we gotta do a better job as a staff managing him and letting him know going into a game, right, that we have to keep you fresh for later in the game for the full season. We can't give you 28, 30 something carries a game. We got to give mix-ups to the defense too. Every back run's different. So you do want to mix up the type of runner you put back there. That way they're not used to how somebody reads it or the tempo of how they read it. So I do think getting some guys back will be good. And I think I've got to do a better job making sure we stay to a plan of how we want to rotate, even if Scat's telling us he's good, we got to be able to manage it.
Kenny, for far enough into the season now for you to have a sense of Big 12 and maybe a parity of the league and how competitive it is?
Yeah, I think the biggest, and we knew this going in, was games every game could go either way. It's like you never know which direction a game. You think one team's going to win, the other team win. You're like, what the heck? Look at that score. Did you see that score? It's the ultimate league of did you see that score, right? It's like, did you see that one? What about that one? And it's just crazy. And I think one of the things just playing one game at Tech is kind of what we expected, and I've alluded to, the home field advantages in this league are real. They're absolutely real. And if you're a team that doesn't have a distinct home field advantage, your football team is at a disadvantage in this league because there are real home field advantages. That environment we played in at Tech was a real environment. It was loud. There were cowbells, right, throughout the game. There were tortillas. And it sounds like comical, but that environment, they're 18 to 22-year-olds. Like, we got to be able to respond to that environment better and keep our emotions lower with all that, right? When the student section is behind your bench and they're yelling at you and saying things, relax. But you're not used to playing in those environments all the time when you play at different games, that we played in the past. Now you're in it. And we've got to be able to manage that better. I should have prepped our guys better probably. I should have, gone and played some videos of fan interaction from the Big 12 and student interaction, what they say to you and try to get under your skin, because that is new. That's new to some of our guys. And I probably did a bad job with that. And then we, on the reverse side, need to create that environment. And the first few games at home, we played really well and we had a good environment. But, these games that we're going to are sold out. Bottom line, they're sold out. Every single seat is filled, and they're loud, and they're engaged, and they're passionate. And if people don't think that's an advantage, you're wrong. And if we want to compete in this league, we're going to need an environment at home that combats that. We're going to need an environment at home that people are like, oh, we have to go play there. And that is a real advantage in this league, and that is a real difference maker that I really think this league is different from the last league.
Back left, Jordan.
Kenny, just with you being a local guy and his passing this past weekend, what impact did Alton Boy have on you as a sports fan?
You grew up listening to him. And bottom line, when you think of, honestly, like sports, and you're like thinking of like a voice, like there he is, over and over again, like your entire life, there he is, over and over again. You can almost hear him in your sleep, right? So he's obviously an icon here, somebody that everybody who's from here knows and can relive his voice, like probably multiple games they can relive his voice, multiple calls, but he's just an absolute icon here.
Hey, Coach, Brian Myers, Devil's Digest. You mentioned after the game on Saturday issues with being able to get stops on third down on defense and then not being able to convert on fourth downs on your guys' side of the ball. What do you make about, on both sides, is kind of converting in those situations?
Yeah, defense, we got to look at our third down stuff. We're very exotic, which is great, but at times we just got to say we're going to cover you. Beat us, right? Just a little bit more. And then on offense, they stopped us on a 4th and 1, which, regardless of the why, they stopped us. It kind of spooked us from going back to the well in the running game there. And when the first one, we thought we had a good play and probably could have, should have had a good play there. So we spooked, and then we call a boot, which is great, and then we don't execute a detail. And it's not the player's fault because I don't think we coached that detail specific enough, and we didn't teach the why that detail makes the difference. And when you're talking 4th and shorts, you're talking really tight coverages. So the difference in somebody open and not open is a release path. Simple as that. If I dive enough and this dude squeezes on me, then this flat route outflanks that dude who's going to pass it off. If you don't dive enough, then that guy sees the flat route and he still has leverage. Like, the smallest of details show up. And I think that goes back to what I originally said of we probably are putting too much on our guys, that game exposed little details, that we weren't the most detailed team. And that's why I was frustrated after the game, is I felt like me as the head coach put ourselves, regardless of all the penalties, regardless of all that, if I would have just not let us, if I would have felt that going into the week and been able to manage a call sheet on both sides of the ball, all 3 phases, that was small enough that our guys would have been more detail-oriented with what we were doing. We could have coached that detail more. There's 6 to 8 plays in the game that would have worked on both sides of the ball. And even through all those stupid things that we did, like stupid things that we're going to grow from, we still would have won the football game. And at the end of the day, that's on me.
Daniel in the back.
You guys have shown a lot of aggressiveness on defense, especially with like double pump looks and kind of going into maybe giving the team too much to work with. How is an execution within those kind of looks? You guys have run many different things.
Yeah, that's what we're self-scouting right now. I believe it's actually a pretty high hit rate of success in a lot of our double mug looks. That was going into last week, just based off the prior weeks. You know what teams are going to do. The beautiful thing about football is there's not that many things you can do. So when you show a unique look, whether it's offensively or defensively, there are some looks that 95% of football teams are going to block it the exact same way. They're going to attack it the exact same way. If you get everybody in the box, how are you going to try to beat it? You're going to throw screens. That's what you do. Make people run and throw screens, right? We got to get better at adjusting to formations that we're seeing when we're in those looks, right? So we're not out leveraged to screens. So we got to do a better job of saying, okay, this is our identity of who we are. We're not going to come out there and not be a double mug team. It's a big reason I hired Coach Ward, is I love our third down stuff. But we can say, okay, we want to be a double mug team, right? We know where our weaknesses are. What is our best call to counter, right, them countering us, right, with our double mug world? Like, what is that? How do we get closer to routes, right? How do we show it from different presentations, or not show it and then get into it, or show it then get out of it? How do we protect the core of who we are? So I would say that's really what we're looking at right now, is we know how teams want to attack it in certain things. How can we combat the way people are attacking it, right, while showing the same thing? Because at the end of the day, that's what the game's about when you're talking the X's and the O's. It's you're trying to get the pin last. And the only way to get the pin last is to make things look the same. And so we got to be able to make things look the same in the double mug, and then cover down on the issues that we've shown, which is free access throws, right, and screens. So how can we show double mug and then remove those 2 issues is the challenge this week. That's what we're self-scouting.